Hello everybody. Um, Welcome to not exactly the normal videos I would make. So today is kind of just a big announcement day. So if you're wondering why I'm wearing a mask, my nose is kind of runny, and I thought this would just stop all the dust particles in the air from going to my nose and irritating it further. But today I have a bunch of things to tell you, I guess. It's not a coding video, so if you're looking for that, you're gonna have to wait. If you don't want to listen to this rant about um, what I've been thinking about, then you can skip to the end where it's just the announcement for the coding videos. But with the first topic in mind, I just want to talk about um, something that's kind of been prevalent in my life for quite a while now, and I think after watching a video on it, it has kind of it hasn't really opened my eyes, but it has kind of just motivated me to push towards um, a new goal in my life that isn't driven by money or success, and it's more so just for the future of, I guess, the future generations that are gonna be having access and using the internet and doing all that kind of stuff. So what I want to talk about is related to a video that I watched last night, and it was called I should have prepared this. It was called The Future of Content Addiction, right? And it's nothing new. I've already watched a whole bunch of videos relating to this, and it I already know basically what it's about, before they started watching it, or before they started you know talking about it. But while watching the video, it basically went on to talk about how content addiction right now is very, very is so prevalent. Like, if you look at just anybody they'll have some form of social media addiction or some form of YouTube addiction, whether it's watching YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, anything that's just relating to video form. And it's honestly taking a toll on our brains, I think, and it's taking a toll on how normal we can live lives. I think it especially has not been helped with the COVID lockdowns, because being stuck at home, there's not much else we can do besides go on the internet. So that has kind of made it a normal idea for everybody to just sit on their phones all day, not communicate with others, and basically just be behind this digital screen and forming connections that way. But I think personally, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that's how life should be lived. Obviously, if your business is centered around it, that's different. But if your entire days are just spent sitting at home, browsing Instagram, browsing YouTube, and talking to your friends on Discord and stuff, then that's not the way that we should be living, and that's not the way that we should continue to be living, because the it's only gonna get worse from here. Because in the video, I'm gonna put a link into the video in the description, because I think it's a very good watch, and it's only 4 minutes. But in that video, they go on to say how modern technology, in terms of the digital world that we're currently in, all these big conglomerates like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they've only been around for 16 years. In fact, I think Instagram and TikTok are even less than that. The modern internet has only been around for 16 years, and the level of I guess control and dominance that these large conglomerates have in our lives is so prevalent right now that in 50 years time, it's hard to imagine what is going to be of our lives. We're just going to be milk dry, and it's kind of disgusting to think about, because not only are the people who are focused on keeping us there, the people who work for Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, not only are they doing it just for the sake of a paycheck, right? But they themselves are most likely also stuck in this cycle of just being addicted to the digital world, and constantly being switched on. So I guess what I'm trying to talk about here, and what I want to um, get you guys to see is this is not the path that I see, like, I could have ever imagined. Like, obviously, I'm really young, but like, this is definitely not the life that I want to continue living. In terms of just being stuck on Instagram, YouTube, all day, every day, at least like 2-3 hours of it is just gonna be there. And if I don't go on it, I'm just gonna be like stuck on an addiction. Because the YouTuber Modern Ideas, he tackles a good point of comparing content addiction to gambling addictions. Because at the end of the day, all addictions are pretty similar in how they're formed, like something relating to the dopamine receptors, and just having the absence of that causes the brain to desire it more, and eventually that just becomes an complete dependency on it. But the thing about content addiction is it's a lot more insidious and a lot more difficult to get past, because it's such a widely accepted thing right now, right? So like everybody can just like go on YouTube, go on Instagram, and not have to worry, because it's kind of a socially accepted thing to do right now, because like it's not considered a true addiction in the sense that it ruins lives, but it's very insidious in the sense that like the longer you do these things and the longer that you persist at these things, it's just gonna eventually take a toll, and you're just gonna be a lazy like shell of what you could have been. So in my opinion, I think the gambling analogy does have some merit, in the sense that like you're always clicking and you're always looking for that next high, kind of like the same way you're tapping the, if anyone's played slots before, like tapping the play button and just like continuing to spin. But I think it's not even about that. I think the most important part is like looking at past generations. I think there was a video done by, I can't remember what it was, but it was relating to gambling, that like the initial stages of slot machines in Australia, right? Where there was a story that followed this, I think, like, relatively middle-aged lady, and she was basically just talking about how, like, before slot machines were kind of there, they would always just go to the pub and just have a pint and just chat with their friends, right? But the moment they, like, dropped the slot machines, like, that kind of was the only thing that they wanted to do. And like it definitely took a toll on their lives, because no matter what, they just kept wanting to go on these slot machines. And in the same way that that happened to the older generations, the same thing is kind of happening in our modern day, where we're becoming accustomed to the like norms of social media addiction, and somehow it's super like widely accepted that it's okay, in the same way that slot machines was super widely accepted as well, because it was the new thing and it was a new thing to do. But at the end of the day, in the long term, it always just ends up driving away the people close to us. So I think this kind of leads nicely into my like announcement, but it kind of made me reevaluate my values in life, and it kind of made me reflect on how my life is right now, and what is prevalent in it and what's missing from it. And I just 100% know that a lot of the time is missing, just purely from YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok being such a staple habit in my life, that I've decided to just go cold turkey on social media, and ideally YouTube. But obviously YouTube is still an important tool, because a lot of valuable information can be found on YouTube in terms of like tutorials, stuff like that. So it leads into my next announcement, which is I had a thought about the app idea from yesterday, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized what I should be thinking about in terms of building apps is not just building an app for the sake of building apps, but it's to build an app that helps as many people as possible. It sounds really corny and cheesy, you know, like, oh yeah, this guy just wants to help a whole bunch of people. But I think that's always just been my purpose in terms of building applications, right? And I feel like when I compare the To Do app to an application that physically stops you from acting on your worst digital habits, like, you know, watching YouTube or watching porn or doing any of that, right? I think that will provide more value to a lot of people than a simple To Do app. Because at the end of the day, if these distractions are in our lives and we haven't, you know, like had the proper restrictions against them, they are eventually gonna take hold, no matter how strong your will is. Because, like, the research done behind all these websites is monumental in comparison to just you, right? Like, they have a whole bunch of researchers, whole bunch of psychologists that just look at, you know, where you click, what excites you, what makes you want to click on the next video, and the only way to combat that is to just stop from going onto these websites. And eventually, if enough people do this, then they're gonna stop on these very predatory, like, business tactics. Because if it doesn't work, then they'll move on to the next thing. But obviously that's its own problem, because, you know, what if they move on to something that's even worse in terms of, like, forming addictions and forming your addictions onto the site. But anyways, it's a bit of a tangent. So I looked at it, and I've decided that from now on, in the future, I'm just gonna plan on working on the Habit Locker app, because I've had some more input, and at the same time I've had some insights of my own that I want to take it forward, and I think would work a lot better than what I initially proposed. So starting in 4 days time or 5 days time, when my exam finishes, all my videos are going to be related to this new app, and it's going to be free because there really isn't any reason for me to monetize it. You know, if I'm wanting everybody to get on this, because I know that, like, you know, it's something that we should be doing, it shouldn't cost money, because that's just going to be more reason for people not to use it. And I really thought about it in terms of, like, why, you know, all the people from the top haven't, like, decided. One, they don't fuck with the money and where the money, so they don't fuck with the people that generate income for them. But two, I think there's a common mindset for people who, you know, potentially could have the money, is no one else is doing it. I had a really good quote, like, last night, but I don't know if this will be a good quote. But, like, essentially the people who can change the world look at others and just think, like, if no one else is trying to change the world, then, like, I can't change the world. Or, like, you know, if this is such a hard task, and then it's not something that I can fix on my own. And I think that's a really bad trap to fall into, because if everybody thinks that they can't change the world, nobody's going to be trying to change the world, you know? So, like, we have to have some delusional people. I can't. It's kind of a weird way to put it, but, like, we have to have some delusional people who are just driven directly towards changing the world, not trying to make some money, not trying to make content on it, not trying to gain some monetary value from other people just for the sake of doing that, right? So that's sort of my announcement. The other announcement was just the fact that, you know, I'm going to take a break and focus solely on doing this exam, because I've noticed that just, like, my workflow with YouTube, coding, and also studying for the exam has just been very, very distracted, just purely for the reason of, you know, having to do multiple things, having to worry about multiple things. But I think if I zone in and just lock onto this one exam, I will, you know, I'll be able to do well, and it'll kind of give me a break and give me some time to think about what I want to actually do with the channel, or, like, you know, like, continue uploading and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm headed. And yeah, at the end of the day, like, yeah, at the end of the day, the time we spend here is, you know, limited. And I think if a lot of people end up spending more than like 10-20% of their lives stuck at home without, you know, proper human connections, and just addicted to this app on your little phones, then like, are you really living life? You know, it's not exactly a life that I would consider worthwhile and well. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm trying to close off the video. I'm horrible at closing off videos, but I'm trying to add like some central message. The central message is get off your phone, get off social media, and get off YouTube. It's not gonna miss you, and you're not gonna miss out on anything. Even if you do miss out, who the fuck cares? You know, like in the olden times, if people would miss out on so much stuff, and they were not like, you know, they were not depressed over it. So that's the message. Okay, bye.